The massive interstellar conference hall hummed with alien chatter, holographic displays flickering like living rainbows across the expansive chamber. Delegates from 100 different star systems congregated, their exotic forms ranging from crystalline humanoids to gaseous entities contained in sophisticated environmental suits. Gina Park stood near the peripheral observation deck, her posture rigid and professional. As a junior diplomatic attendant from the Stellar Diplomatic Corps, she had been assigned to monitor human representatives, a species most galactic civilizations considered barely advanced enough to participate in interstellar negotiations. Her neural implant scanned the room, processing multiple communication frequencies simultaneously. Suddenly, a disturbance caught her attention. A human delegation had just entered, led by Captain David Kim, whose reputation preceded him like a solar wind. Unlike other human representatives who typically wore standard diplomatic uniforms, Kim wore a modified combat-grade exosuit with minimal ceremonial markings. His attire suggested preparation, not just for political discourse but for potential conflict. His team moved with a synchronized precision that spoke of military training, each member scanning the environment with calculated awareness. The conference was discussing potential trade routes through the volatile Kraken Nebula, a region notorious for its unpredictable quantum storms and territorial disputes. Most delegates relied on complex algorithmic projections and diplomatic pleasantries. Kim, however, seemed different. When he approached the central holographic platform, the room's ambient noise subtly changed. His projection showed unconventional navigation routes through the nebula using gravitational slingshot techniques that most advanced civilizations would consider risky. The other delegates exchanged confused glances, but something about his presentation held an undeniable logic. Gina's neural implant began analyzing his presentation, running comparative simulations. To her surprise, Kim's proposed routes had a 73.6% higher success probability compared to standard diplomatic recommendations. His approach wasn't just bold, it was mathematically superior. A massive holographic display materialized, showing intricate star charts and potential conflict zones. Kim's fingers moved with surgical precision, manipulating complex data streams that most beings would find incomprehensible. He explained how human adaptability could transform seemingly impossible navigation challenges into strategic opportunities. Nearby, a Zeloxian delegate, a creature resembling a walking crystalline octopus, whispered skeptically to its companion. Humans, always thinking they can solve complex problems with such simplicity. But Gina was captivated. Her professional training demanded objectivity, yet something about Kim's presentation challenged her predetermined understanding of human capabilities. The conference hall contained representatives from dozens of alien civilizations. Robotic entities from the Quantum Collective stood alongside biosynthetic beings from the Morpheus cluster. Holographic avatars of gas-based lifeforms from Neptune's outer research stations flickered intermittently. And amidst this cosmic diversity, David Kim presented his strategy with an almost casual confidence. An unexpected moment occurred when a quantum disruption threatened to destabilize the conference's communication network. While other delegates panicked, Kim calmly interfaced with the system, using an improvised quantum stabilization technique that restored functionality within seconds. Gina's neural implant recorded every moment, her professional facade hiding a growing sense of intrigue. This wasn't just another human representative. This was someone fundamentally different. As the first session concluded, Kim caught her observing him. Instead of a typical diplomatic smile, he offered a subtle nod, a gesture that felt more like a challenge than a greeting. In that momentary exchange, Gina sensed something profound. Humans were far more complex than any galactic database could comprehend. The conference hall continued its cosmic ballet of alien interactions, but something had fundamentally shifted. A new variable had entered the equation, and her name was Gina Park, and his was David Kim. Starships of various designs hung in the distant space beyond the conference hall's transparent walls, massive technological marvels representing centuries of evolutionary engineering. Each vessel told a story of its civilization's technological journey, and today, a human had just rewritten everyone's understanding of potential. As diplomatic protocols resumed and holographic negotiations continued, Gina knew one thing with absolute certainty. This was going to be an extraordinary mission. End of Part 1. The Rim territories stretched like a wounded tapestry across the galactic map, tension simmering between multiple star systems. David Kim's research vessel, the Horizon Breaker, moved silently through the asteroid-dense region, its advanced quantum shields rendering it nearly invisible to conventional tracking systems. Gina Park sat in the co-pilot station, her neural implants processing massive data streams. The ship's interior was a blend of military precision and human adaptability. Holographic displays dancing with real-time information, adaptive environmental controls responding to microscopic changes in atmospheric pressure. "You're analyzing the wrong quadrant," David said casually, his fingers dancing across multiple holographic interfaces. Unlike typical alien command structures, he moved with an intuitive understanding that seemed to predict potential scenarios before they emerged. A massive quantum storm began brewing on the long-range scanners. Most diplomatic vessels would immediately retreat, but the Horizon Breaker seemed to lean into the challenge. Kim's navigation was unlike anything Gina had ever witnessed, part mathematical precision, part intuitive gamble. Suddenly, a distress signal erupted from a small research station trapped within the storm's developing eye. The station belonged to the Crystalline Collective, a hyper-advanced civilization known for their intricate technological networks. Standard protocols suggested waiting for specialized rescue units, but David had other plans. "We're going in," he announced, not as a question but a statement. The ship's quantum drive hummed with potential adaptive algorithms, recalculating navigation paths millisecond by millisecond. Gina watched in astonishment as Kim manipulated the vessel through impossible spatial corridors, using the storm's own energy as a propulsion mechanism. Robotic maintenance drones buzzed around the ship's exterior, continuously adjusting microscopic shield configurations. These weren't standard-issue equipment. They represented a hybrid technology that merged human creativity with advanced engineering principles. Inside the storm, electromagnetic disruptions would have crippled most vessels. Here, the Horizon Breaker moved like a living entity, anticipating turbulence, redirecting energy, creating temporary quantum tunnels that defied conventional physics. The research station came into view, a delicate crystalline structure now fracturing under immense gravitational pressures. Its automated distress signals indicated multiple research teams trapped inside, their survival chances diminishing with each passing moment. "We have approximately 17 minutes before total structural collapse," Gina calculated, her neural implants running complex survival probability models. David's response was unexpected. Instead of launching a standard rescue protocol, he began reconfiguring the ship's quantum shields, creating a unique energy bubble that could potentially stabilize the station's failing infrastructure. "Humans adapt," he muttered, more to himself than to Gina. "We don't just solve problems, we reshape the entire context of the problem." The rescue was nothing short of miraculous. As the Horizon Breaker extended its quantum shields, the research station seemed to breathe, its failing systems temporarily sustained by an energy configuration no standard rescue algorithm could have conceived. Alien researchers, crystalline beings whose molecular structures were more complex than most organic life forms, watched in stunned silence as they were gradually extracted from their failing station. One senior researcher, the being composed of interconnected quantum crystals, approached David after their rescue. "Your method, it defies our computational models," the being communicated through a translation matrix. David simply smiled. Sometimes survival isn't about having the most advanced technology, it's about understanding the environment better than the environment understands itself. Gina realized something profound was happening. This wasn't just a rescue mission. It was a demonstration of human potential that challenged every established galactic understanding of problem-solving and adaptation. The Horizon Breaker's computer logged the mission. not as a standard rescue operation, but as a fundamental redefinition of interspecies cooperation and technological approach. As they departed the quantum storm, the vessel's adaptive systems began immediate restoration and analysis, preparing for the next unexpected challenge. Outside, distant stars continued their eternal dance, witnessing another moment of human innovation that would slowly reshape galactic perceptions. David looked at Gina, a subtle smile playing on his lips. Ready for the next adventure, her response was a mixture of professional composure and genuine excitement. The universe she was learning looked very different through human eyes. End of Part 2. The diplomatic vessel, Starlight Envoy, hung suspended in the delicate space between three potentially hostile star systems. Massive holographic displays tracked multiple potential conflict zones, each represented by swirling energy patterns that mapped centuries of unresolved territorial disputes. David Kim stood at the central command platform, his posture relaxed, but his eyes intense. Around him, a diverse team of diplomats and strategic analysts from multiple civilizations watched with a mixture of skepticism and curiosity. The mission was simple in concept, but catastrophically complex in execution. Prevent an interstellar war that could potentially destroy billions of lives across multiple star systems. The primary conflict centered around the resource-rich Orion sector, a region containing rare quantum crystals that could power entire galactic civilizations. Three major powers circled each other like predators: the Crystalline Confederation, the Quantum Collective, and the Independent Planetary Alliance. Traditional diplomatic approaches had failed repeatedly. Decades of negotiations had resulted in nothing more than increasingly hostile standoffs and carefully worded threats. "We're not going to use conventional negotiation strategies," David announced, his voice cutting through the tense atmosphere. A crystalline diplomat, a being composed of interlocking geometric energy patterns, immediately objected. "Your proposed approach violates every established diplomatic protocol." David's response was a holographic projection that began mapping unexpected connection points between the three civilizations. Instead of focusing on their differences, he demonstrated intricate economic and cultural interdependencies that most diplomatic teams had completely overlooked. The ship's advanced quantum computers worked in real time, generating millions of potential scenario projections. But David wasn't relying solely on computational power. He was introducing a fundamentally human element: psychological understanding and emotional intelligence. Gina Park watched the presentation unfold, her neural implants working overtime to process the unconventional strategy. Where most diplomatic missions would use complex legal frameworks and territorial negotiations, David was essentially redesigning the entire conflict's fundamental approach. Suddenly, a massive energy disruption occurred. Automated defense systems across multiple star systems began charging weapons platforms. In any other scenario, this would have been the moment diplomatic talks collapsed into full-scale war. But David remained incredibly calm. With a series of rapid commands, he redirected the ship's communication arrays, creating a unique quantum entanglement that allowed simultaneous communication across multiple diplomatic channels. It was a technique that technically shouldn't have been possible. A classic example of human innovative thinking. Robotic diplomatic assistants from various civilizations began processing the unexpected data streams. Advanced AI systems designed to predict conflict suddenly found themselves confronting a completely unanticipated scenario. The Quantum Collective's primary representative, a being that existed partially in physical form and partially as a distributed quantum consciousness, leaned forward with unexpected interest. "Your approach suggests a level of systemic thinking that transcends traditional negotiation models." The being communicated through a complex translation matrix. David's strategy wasn't about winning. It was about creating a new framework of mutual understanding. He demonstrated how the resource-rich Orion sector could become a collaborative development zone, with each civilization gaining more through cooperation than through potential conflict. Holographic displays began showing intricate economic models, technological exchange possibilities, and shared research opportunities. What had seemed like an impossible diplomatic nightmare was slowly transforming into a potential breakthrough. The ship's advanced sensors detected multiple subtle changes. Weapon platforms across different star systems began powering down. Communication. Channels that had been hostile mere hours ago now buzzed with cautious dialogue. Gina realized she was witnessing something extraordinary. This wasn't just diplomatic negotiation. This was a fundamental reimagining of inter-civilizational relationships. As the critical mission entered its final stages, the Starlight Envoy became more than just a diplomatic vessel. It was a symbol of potential, a demonstration that understanding could be more powerful than any weapon, that creativity could solve problems where traditional approaches had repeatedly failed. David turned to Gina, a subtle smile playing on his lips. "Sometimes," he said quietly, "the most powerful weapon is the ability to see connections others can't even imagine." The stars outside continued their silent dance, witnessing another moment of human potential that would slowly reshape galactic understanding. End of Part 3. The research station orbited a massive quantum anomaly, its crystalline structures reflecting the swirling energy patterns of unexplored cosmic phenomena. Inside the central observation deck, David Kim and Gina Park worked side by side, their collaboration a delicate dance of two fundamentally different perspectives. Holographic displays surrounded them, each interface showing complex data streams that would overwhelm most biological or artificial intelligence systems. But here in this moment, human intuition and alien technological precision merged into something extraordinary. A massive energy fluctuation suddenly rippled through the station's systems. Automated warning protocols began blaring, but David's hands were already moving across the interface, recalibrating quantum stabilization matrices with an almost intuitive understanding. "Most beings would see this as a catastrophic system failure," he explained to Gina, his voice calm despite the increasing energy readings. "Humans see it as an opportunity to understand something nobody has understood before." The station housed representatives from over 12 different galactic civilizations. Each brought unique technological perspectives, yet they found themselves repeatedly drawn to David's unconventional approach to problem-solving. Robotic research assistants, sophisticated machines with near-sentient cognitive capabilities, watched in fascination. Their computational models couldn't predict David's next move, which made him simultaneously frustrating and captivating to observe. Gina's neural implants worked over time, processing the complex interactions. She had long abandoned her initial skepticism about human capabilities. Now she was actively participating in a research methodology that challenged everything she had been trained to understand. The quantum anomaly outside began displaying increasingly complex behavioral patterns. Where most scientific teams would retreat, David's team leaned into the challenge, treating the unknown not as a threat, but as an unexplored opportunity. "Communication isn't just about exchanging information," David explained during a critical moment. "It's about creating shared understanding. Every interaction is a potential bridge between different ways of thinking." A senior researcher from the Crystalline Collective, a being composed of interconnected quantum matrices, approached them. "Your approach defies our standard research protocols," the researcher communicated through a sophisticated translation matrix. David's response was a holographic demonstration showing how their current research could potentially unlock multiple advanced technological breakthroughs. He wasn't just solving an immediate problem, he was reimagining entire scientific paradigms. The station's exterior revealed a breathtaking view. Distant galaxies swirled like living paintings, quantum energies dancing between stellar formations. Adaptive maintenance drones moved across the station's surface, their movements synchronized with the research team's evolving strategies. Gina began to understand something profound. Human potential wasn't about having the most advanced technology. It was about the ability to see connections others missed, to transform challenges into opportunities. Their research team represented a microcosm of potential galactic cooperation. Beings from different evolutionary paths, with fundamentally different perceptual frameworks, working together with a shared sense of curiosity and discovery. The quantum anomaly outside began responding to their research in unexpected ways. Complexer energy patterns shifted, revealing mathematical structures that challenged existing scientific understanding. It was as if the cosmic phenomenon itself was engaging in a dialogue with the research team. "We're not just observing," David said quietly. "We're communicating." Robotic analysis systems began generating millions of potential scenario projections, but the most interesting insights came not from computational power, but from the team's collective human creativity. The ability to ask questions that no standard algorithm would consider. As hours turned into days, the research station became more than just a scientific outpost. It transformed into a living laboratory of interspecies cooperation, with human adaptability at its core. Gina realized she was witnessing something revolutionary. This wasn't just scientific research. This was a fundamental reimagining of how different civilizations could understand each other. The quantum anomaly continued its mesmerizing dance outside, a silent witness to humanity's extraordinary potential to transform the unknown into the understood. David looked at Gina, a subtle smile playing on his lips. Ready to rewrite some scientific textbooks? The galactic core trembled with potential energy, massive stellar formations creating a backdrop of unprecedented cosmic drama. Aboard the Horizon Breaker, David Kim and Gina Park stood at the epicenter of a confrontation that would reshape interstellar politics forever. Multiple civilizations watched with breathless anticipation. The Quantum Collective, the Crystalline Confederation, and dozens of independent star systems had converged in what could either become the most significant diplomatic breakthrough or the most catastrophic conflict in galactic history. Holographic displays surrounded the ship's command center, each interface showing complex diplomatic and military projections. Robotic diplomatic assistants worked alongside biological representatives, their quantum processors struggling to calculate the rapidly evolving scenario. David's strategy was nothing short of revolutionary. Instead of traditional negotiation techniques, he was proposing a complete restructuring of interstellar resource management. The Orion sector, a region rich with quantum resources that had been a point of contention for centuries, would become a collaborative development zone. "We're not dividing territories," David announced to the assembled representatives. "We're creating a new framework of mutual cooperation." Gina's neural implants worked overtime, processing the complex diplomatic interactions. She had watched David transform seemingly impossible scenarios into opportunities multiple times, but this felt different. This was a moment that could potentially redefine galactic civilization. Massive energy signatures began building around the conference zone. Automated defense systems from multiple star systems locked into complex interaction patterns. In any other scenario, this would have been the prelude to total war. But David remained impossibly calm. With a series of precisely calculated commands, he began redirecting communication arrays, creating a quantum entanglement that allowed simultaneous communication across multiple diplomatic channels. It was a technique that technically shouldn't have been possible, a classic example of human innovative thinking. The Crystalline Confederation's primary representative, a being composed of intricate energy matrices, leaned forward with unexpected interest. "Your approach suggests a level of systemic thinking that transcends our existing diplomatic models," the being communicated through a complex translation matrix. Robotic analysis systems generated millions of potential scenario projections. But the most interesting insights came not from computational power, but from the team's collective human creativity, the ability to ask questions that no standard algorithm would consider. Adaptive maintenance drones moved across the ship's exterior, their movements synchronized with the evolving diplomatic strategy. Each movement was a testament to human engineering, precise, adaptable, innovative. The diplomatic vessel became more than just a negotiation platform. It transformed into a living demonstration of how different civilizations could find common ground. Distant star systems watched the proceedings. Quantum communication networks carried the potential breakthrough across thousands of light years. creating a moment of collective anticipation that transcended individual civilizations. Cooperation isn't about eliminating differences, David explained to the assembled representatives. It's about creating a framework where those differences become strengths. Gina watched in amazement as David systematically dismantled centuries of territorial disputes. He wasn't just presenting a diplomatic solution, he was reimagining the entire concept of interstellar relationships. The quantum collective's computational systems began generating unprecedented probability models. What had seemed like an impossible diplomatic nightmare was transforming into a potential breakthrough that could reshape galactic civilization. Holographic displays showed intricate economic models, technological exchange possibilities, and shared research opportunities. Weapon platforms across different star systems began powering down. Communication channels that had been hostile mere hours ago now buzzed with cautious dialogue. As the critical mission entered its final stages, the Horizon Breaker became more than just a diplomatic vessel. It was a symbol of potential, a demonstration that understanding could be more powerful than any weapon, that creativity could solve problems where traditional approaches had repeatedly failed. The stars outside continued their silent dance, witnessing another moment of human potential that would slowly reshape galactic understanding. Multiple civilizational representatives began signing collaborative agreements. What had seemed impossible just hours ago was now becoming a new galactic reality. David turned to Gina, a subtle smile playing on his lips. "Sometimes," he said quietly, "the most powerful tool is the ability to help others see possibilities they couldn't imagine." The universe seemed to pause, holding its breath at the magnitude of what was unfolding. End of Part 5. Her response was a mixture of professional composure and genuine excitement. The universe, she was learning, looked very different through human eyes. End of Part 4.